Hey, what's up? Hello, it's your boy Joe Frick, and this is the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show where dreams come true and your favorite suspended players who don't realize that they are terrible humans come back to. As always with me, the one, the only, the man in the white coat. That doesn't sound right, but it's a lab coat, so it's fine. Drew Hannes, how we doing, my friend?
You just freaking like Southerner from the 1800s. That's what you just threw me as. But feels good to be back from my bye week. All of my fantasy football teams came with me on that bye week. You smoked me in a league where I only put up 90, where I had to start Cooper Rush and Justin Fields at quarterback, and all three of my wide receivers got hurt in the first half. So I got a total of 10 points combined between basically 5 players. Put up 90 when Bijan had 40 on his own. So it was a great week, but I'm ready to come back and bounce back from that hellish week of going 0-7 fantasy leagues last week while I was away. I did get to watch football on my phone, though. Actually, I had decent service, so I just kind of rolled with it. Listened to the Steeler game. It was good.
It's a stress-free Steelers game for a change, which is nice, but never the case in the Frick house where my wife is a Browns fan, so always treacherous waters in weeks like that. But it was a really important game for me because it was the first Steelers-Browns game that my son was here for. So it was like I didn't need him starting down that path. So we lived to fight another day, and for that I'm thankful. So,
are you and Sarah doing a Halloween costume for him this year?
Yeah, we are dressing up as Shrek, Fiona, and then Jonah will be Lord Farquaad. It's one of those things, right, where it's like you have a very small timeline of when you have a say, like what Halloween costume your kids want. And it's like, so Sarah's a ginger, so it was just like, all right, like this is pretty perfect. So
yeah, it's great.
Really a good time. Maybe I'll have to bust it out in a week or two here. But we'll see. But all right, Drew, put in the lab coat. It feels like every week we're like, this is the worst week of fantasy football injuries ever. And then it happens again. So what's the latest and greatest on the injury front?
Honestly, the worst season that we've had, especially for our show. Like, it's just crazy. But we could start with the biggest one. Our dynasty darling, the number one wide receiver in dynasty, the number one player in redraft, the number one
LeBron James.
My app's still crashing just because they're too busy photoshopping pictures of these players. But Puka Nacua went down with an ankle injury. Positive note, it sounds like it's not a high ankle sprain, more like a low ankle, mid ankle sprain.
So what does that mean for somebody? Because, I mean, high ankle sprain's obviously the more known thing. That's what we hear. It's like the very long-term recovery. But how do you, like, what is a low, like, what does that mean?
I just think the lower that the sprain is, the more stability you have in the ankle. Like when you get up higher and your shin starts to get skinnier, you know what I mean? Like there's less stability in the ankle. So when you're cutting it, it's obviously a lot more painful. You don't feel that stability on your foot. So with a low ankle, it's a lot better than having a high ankle, obviously. The thing that really like stood out to me when they talked about his injury, when Sean McVay talked about his injury, I feel like he's going to test to play. I don't think that he will play this week because they have the bye week next week and they're heading to London. But the main thing that Sean said was that they wanted to protect Puka from himself because of his play style. Like the way he like throws his body around on the field, they feel like he's a high risk type of player to make things worse. So I feel like they're just going to sit him out because of his play style and obviously the bye week. So we're probably not going to have him this week, but it's not like a CeeDee Lamb situation that we've been missing him for several weeks.
Yeah. And speaking of him, do you think he comes back this week? I know that there's a lot of talk. They're optimistic about him. Do you see a return to that lineup? And what do you think that means for George Pickens?
Yeah. So he was actually on my list for players to discuss that didn't get hurt this week. I do think he's playing this week. I believe that he returned to practice today. They're talking a lot of good things. Obviously, this is going to hurt George. I mean, George has a lot of his big weeks have come from the big play. Like last week, he was basically invisible last week, and then he had a long 40-yard touchdown, which saved his day. He still has that opportunity. Jake Ferguson's going to hurt a little bit too because he was just getting so many targets. He's still going to be viable, I think, especially in a weak position. But like, I think he's the one that's going to hurt the most because he's not going to be getting the 10 to 15 targets anymore.
It's hard to say though because he's such a safety valve for Dak. I think that he still retains because even before Lamb got hurt, Ferguson was doing really well. So
I think he's
not
going to retain it. I just don't think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be a boom. Like he's been booming like every single week. The amount of targets he's been getting I just don't think that's sustainable. But I still think he's going to get like 8 to 10, which is still really good. But yeah, I got a lot more here though. So Garrett Wilson had a knee hyperextension. They already said that he's going to miss a couple weeks, and of course he has his bye week in week 9. So we're already looking at week 10 for him. I think that he'll return against the Browns. Emeka Egbuka suffered a hamstring strain. From what they're saying, it sounds like it's a grade 1 and he's going to miss some time. But another team that has their bye week 9. So we're looking at week 10 for him as well against Pats. Maserati suffered a concussion. We obviously talk about these all the time. They're nonlinear injuries. If he gets out of the protocol this week, maybe we'll see him. But they have a bye week next week. It's all these players are like getting hurt right in front of their bye week. So teams are usually extra cautious with these guys when their bye week is coming up. So it's like a lot of these guys you're going to expect to miss, and then you're not going to have them for the following week either.
Right.
Calvin Ridley, hamstring injury. He's week to week as well. He also has a bye week coming up. His is in week 10 though. I don't know really what's going to happen with Calvin Ridley because I think he's going to get traded first and foremost. I don't think that he's on the Tennessee Titans by the time he returns from this injury. If it's really bad, which I don't think that it is, maybe he doesn't get dealt and he sits through his week 10 bye and returns to week 11. But I don't see any point in the Tennessee Titans keeping him after Callahan's been fired. That team's just an absolute mess. I think it's time for the Alec Eilmaner show. We've already been seeing a glimpse. I think that he's going to, take a step forward with being the main target in that offense. Chimere Dike, I was shocked that he even got picked where they picked him. I kind of viewed him as like a late round undrafted guy. I was shocked when I saw that they picked him where they did. Maybe step up and get some targets as well. But it's a low volume offense, not running a lot of plays, not running a lot of successful plays. It's really hard to even consider starting anybody in that offense. But I do like Eilmaner, as we've seen a little bit from him. And then the last injury.
I would say it's been tough sledding. And I think once they switched Callahan off of being the play caller, Eilmaner, he didn't really pop as much. It seemed like things were turning around for Ridley. Mm-hmm. So there could be a little bit of a short-term play for Alec. I think if he does have a good game this week, he's a sell high for me because Ridley's going to retain that role once he comes back.
Yeah. I mean, we're not starting those guys unless you absolutely have to anyways. But
right.
Final one here is DJ Moore. Suffered a groin injury. His was really weird because he went to the hospital after the game and he played through it. Mostly as a precaution, maybe Ben Johnson already alluded to it, that it was a personal matter. You can obviously fill in the blanks of what he was probably dealing with.
Testicular torsion.
Yeah. This is similar to what Christian Kirk went through a couple years ago. I think he missed significant time when that happened. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. I think he was on IR. And I don't think he came back after that.
It took him a good chunk of time. It was kind of like that scene from Seinfeld with the wheelbarrow. That was Christian Kirk for a long time after that. He was hurt.
Yeah, so DJ Moore isn't a guy that we're starting right now anyways. I feel like name notoriety and you're not really paying attention to these senior lineups, but the dude is third on their team in targets. He's being out targeted by Ahmed Zaccheaus and Cole Kmet, who's been fighting with targets with Colson Loveland, is almost targeting as much as DJ Moore. It's the Rome Odunze show, so
it's crazy. I really didn't see that coming at all. I mean, I knew Rome was going to step up, but the way that they faded DJ Moore out of that offense. We talked about it before the show. Zaccheaus still getting way too many snaps, let alone targets.
Yeah.
It's absurd to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. But DJ Moore might be another guy that could get traded. I don't think it's going to be a deadline thing because I think that the Bears are actually playing pretty well and they might be able to get a wild card spot. But I don't see him being in their 2026 plans.
The hard part is the dead cap, though. I think it's going to be a pretty lofty dead cap situation for him. So the contract's going to be the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, in the NFL, these teams always find a way. however they do it. But I just don't see him being a part of their future because I think that Burden's going to step up as the two next year. We're already seeing some flashes from him. It seems like they want him to be more involved. And DJ Moore it just seems like there's not enough ball there for him, which who would have thought he would have been the odd man out. But here we are. I do also want to bring up one other thing that I missed with Puka. So we obviously expect him to be out. A lot of people have been really gung-ho on Jordan Wigginton as the guy that you want to pick up and replace him with. Obviously, he stepped in and played a lot of those snaps when he went down. But for me personally, I don't know if you agree, but my target, and I'm sure we're in several leagues together, you saw it, but my target was Tutu Atwell. He was already playing a ton of snaps prior to the injury. He missed last week, and people kind of forgot about him.
Well, I think that's going to be the question: is does Tutu Atwell play this week?
He'll be back this week. Yeah. All signs are pointing to him playing. That's the reason why I've been really targeting him. But he was playing roughly 70% of the snaps before Puka even got hurt.
Yeah, and he had some pretty big fourth quarter catches so far this season where he was kind of basically setting him up for a win. So I like it.
Before, like when Cooper Kupp was hurt, it was basically the Tutu and Puka show when Cooper Kupp was hurt. So I like him as a guy. I was able to pick him up in Fishbowl, which I was pretty happy about. So I'm going to start him in Fishbowl this week and see, help me bounce back in that league because it's been brutal. But
I got my first loss in Fishbowl this week.
I saw it. Yeah, that's crazy. Did you lose and beat the average or?
I lost and beat the average. Yeah, I put up 270, and then the guy I played, Lord Reeves, my dog, he put up 278. So Marv doesn't get concussed.
Brutal.
The rest of my team shows up, which, I mean, 270 in that league, that's a solid week. I think it was second in the league, but it just wasn't enough. But we'll bounce back. My projection is
like that's crazy. 270 has been like my max. Like my team's been struggling real bad.
My projection
it's definitely
is
the worst.
360 every week. So it's like to drop 70, 80 points. It was like, ooh.
This is the worst Fishbowl team I've ever had. But I still think I have a shot at the playoffs, but I'll get bouncing pretty early if I do.
Yeah.
Anyways, a couple more injuries here that I want to bring up. We already talked about CeeDee Lamb. I expect him to return this week. I also expect Terry McLaurin to return this week. And we are finally seeing Terry kind of bounce back from that hiatus he had during training camp. He had a pretty decent game. He was actually my only fantasy the week that he got hurt. He got stopped at the one on the injury play and cost him a big week. But I expect him to play. The Cowboys and the Commanders play each other, and I feel like this is like an over-under of like 58. I think there's going to be a ton of splash here. I'm very excited for that game. Terry McLaurin and CeeDee Lamb, I think, should both be in lineups. And then Mike Evans coming back from his hamstring. We already discussed Emeka Egbuka being out. Chris Godwin has a fibula injury, which is just like super concerning considering what he's been going through. It sounds like they're downplaying it, but they're ruling him out for a Monday game already. Like they're not even considering him. I think he's going to be out for several weeks as well. Mike Evans is going to have.
It's got to be tough coming back from all of that. Like I would, if I was him, like he's a better man than me. I would hang it up.
I mean, he's gotten paid, but dude loves ball. I don't know. I eventually think
that he got the contract that he did with the injury risk that he had from his whole foot falling off.
I know.
Like, could you imagine like what situation the Patriots would be if he would have taken that deal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Bucs, obviously, their medical staff worked for them the whole time, and they didn't have any concerns about bringing it back. So I don't know. We'll see. I always feel like these guys are always with significant injuries 2 years away, anyways. Like he wasn't a guy that I was really like high on coming into this season. We were talking about him in the round that he was going, like maybe the range, but like it was never a guy I felt like he was going to contribute this year for fantasy lineups for the Bucs. Yeah. So,
and I think that's why they drafted Egbuka too.
Yeah, they loved Egbuka. Like the way they talked about him, they just loved the player. But Mike Evans is going to have a few weeks here where he's just going to be the guy, which we obviously know from the Mike Evans experience. He always has like this 1 or 2 game stretch where he just puts up 40 back to back. Like he just goes completely bonkers in games. I just feel like we're opening up ourselves to that window here where Mike Evans is going to be the guy. Cameron Johnson and Tez Johnson have also been hot waiver wire pickups, but
Yeah.
you don't really know which one of those guys is going to be. I was on the Tez Johnson train because he was already playing more snaps before Ibuka got hurt. Like a guy that's already had some field experience is always going to be the guy that I kind of gravitate towards. But, there's options out there if you do need some fill-ins, especially with all these injuries. I do have two more. Omarion Hampton, I did want to bring him up. This was something that I alluded to last week that I felt like they didn't hesitate at all when they put him on IR, that it just seemed like it was definitely a significant injury that he has at his ankle. And they basically came out and said they're just like they don't see him coming back anywhere near the 4 weeks after the IR. I think that there's a possibility you don't see him till fantasy playoffs, realistically, based on what they were saying. So he might be a guy that you could buy low on ahead of the playoffs. I didn't really take a peek at what their schedule looked like come that time, but we saw that he was kind of matchup proof in the few games that he got the lead role by himself. He played really, really well. So he might be a guy that you can buy low on. If you definitely don't need him to get into the playoffs. If you're already doing really well, maybe like you're 4-2.
The only game that's going to be advantageous is going to be the semis he plays at Dallas. But
that's very advantageous though.
Yeah. But it's otherwise they've got so it's leading up. So the championship week is Houston, who's been annihilating people on defense. Yep. If you're a week 18 sicko, they're at Denver. 16, they're at Dallas. 15, they're at Kansas City. And then they've got Philly the week before that. So it's fairly tough sledding.
Yeah, so, depending on what the price tag is, honestly, like a guy like if you have Omarion Hampton, you're sitting there at 2 and 4. There's no point of you holding on to him. You might be able to just get anything that'll help you now just to give you some life. But realistically, there's a chance the amount of injuries that we've seen this year that people might be in that boat. Last one I have here, and then I know you want to transition to a headline that's kind of the same, is George Kittle. He started practicing. He already practiced again today. They opened his window from IR. It's tough because George Kittle is like such a tough dude that I feel like he has a chance to play this week. But I feel like they want to hold him out for one more week.
They pretty much said 2 weeks ago that he was going to play week 7. So I would be shocked if he didn't. He logged a limited participation in practice today. So I think, as Tomlin would say, we will let participation be our guide. And I think that
the impression, based on what they were saying, that they kind of didn't want to rush him back, given the status of their team. Like they're dropping like flies. Like you want this guy to be like 100% before it turns into something big. Like they just lost Fred Warner now, which is an ankle dislocation. And it's just, do you see the AI videos of like the 49ers walking on the field? It's all guys in like wheelchairs and like crutches, and they're just like,
nah, I usually skip AI videos. I don't like AI.
These are funny though. I'll have to send you one then. But yeah, I think there's a good chance that he plays. I just think that they don't want to rush it unless I think if he logs a full tomorrow, Friday, then you'll see him.
Yeah, for sure. So before we jump into our headlines for the week, we got one big one. It's going to hit some of the comments in the chat. So our boy Ricky Dunks, 5 minutes early to the show, in playoffs in 12 of 14 leagues so far. I think you might want to pick up a hobby. 14 leagues, it's tough sledding, but 12 and 14, keep up the momentum. Also, a shout out to one of the tweets I had on Sunday. Grandma's still in her cage because of Fields. So I think I had tweeted in the third quarter, Grandma stays in the cage until Justin Fields throws for 100 yards, not realizing that he was going to finish the game with -10. So hopefully Grandma's comfy living her life. Question for you, Drew, from Chad. What's up, our friend? Is Justice Hill a set it and forget it flex now, given the state of the Baltimore offense?
I actually just dropped Justice Hill in a league. Joe, we're in that league together. I had better expectations for him over the last few weeks, and I just kind of didn't see it. And I just felt like I don't know, like he's like a 7 or 8 point guy. I was expecting more with how Derrick Henry was playing, but it didn't.
I feel like last week he was like running back 18.
But was I looking at it wrong?
It's possible. Let me see. Now you got me all curious, but
he only had 9 points.
Maybe. So what are we looking at?
After his big week where we kind of hyped him up, he went 2 and then 9.
Yeah, he had 9.4, which was running back 20.
Which is just a down week for running backs outside of like Rico Dowdle going off. I don't know. I'd rather start a wide receiver than Justice Hill getting you 9.
Yeah, I think the hard part too is it's like, who are you playing him against? They have the bye this week. Then you got Chicago. Chicago's offense is pretty hit or miss. The Miami game, Derrick Henry should in theory run all over them, so they should be able to stay in that game. And you'd think Lamar is going to be back probably after the bye.
Lamar will be back after the bye against the Bears, and the Bears should be like shaking in their boots right now.
Yeah, so then I think at that point he immediately – I mean, if you look at their schedule out of the bye, Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, the Jets, Cincinnati, like that's basically like a 6 or 7 win streak waiting to happen.
Can I call dibs on Derrick Henry against the Dolphins for OnlyFantasy?
Yeah, you can. That's fine.
No, it's all right. He'll just be the obvious one for everybody.
Yeah. All right. So Chad's got some comments in here for you. Not feeling the Atwell if he's below 100% just because it's a home run dependent move. And,
I don't think home run dependent with the state of their wide receiver core right now, though.
Yeah.
You think so?
All right. And then let's jump into this panic move trade. I actually like it. Marv for Javonte and Cup. Assuming that this is redraft, I think Javonte is the best player in this deal.
Yeah. And Marv has been.
Yeah. Cup is whatever to me. He's had some serviceable weeks, but as far as I'm concerned, he's fairly washed.
This is actually so funny. Remember I told you that Platt texted me right before, like it was the second game, and Marv had 2 good games and Javonte had 2 good games.
Yeah.
Marv for Javonte. It's the exact same deal, but he's getting Cup too. And I'd rather have the Javonte side now. And Platt, if he's in the chat right now, is just like throwing rocks.
And Cup was our wide receiver 25. His best finish on the year is 21.
It's a
What's
dynasty.
that? Oh, dynasty.
Oh
No. Stop.
You can't trade Marvin in dynasty league for that.
Not for that. There's no chance. So never mind. Don't do that.
Yeah, not for that.
Why don't you just acquire some more quarterbacks and you'll be fine. So we'll see. All right. So jumping into the main headline for the week, it's been a pretty popular topic across the football verse. Rashee Rice returning back after serving a 6-game suspension. So, Drew, what are your expectations for Rashee Rice? Do you think he immediately becomes the target hog that we saw in week 1 and week 2 of last season? Or do you think that this Chiefs offense is going to look a little bit different now that you have Worthy, Rice, and Kelsey all healthy?
I don't know. Why don't you ask Jeremy Fowler?
Jeremy Fowler is saying big load. Big old load for
big load. Andy Reid said the exact same thing. It just said, why don't you ask Jeremy Fowler? I think that Rashee Rice is just going to step in right away. Like his play style. We talked about this last week. I was going into the season, I was kind of worried about a ramp-up period, but like he does a lot of short intermediate routes, get the ball to him quickly, let him run. Like I feel like he's going to step in, and he honestly could have 10 targets this week. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest because Travis Kelce has been average. Xavier Worthy's been picking up a little bit, but honestly, like Worthy a little bit recently and Tyquan Thornton as a deep threat, it really hasn't been much there. All of Mahomes, fantasy points have been coming from him being like second amongst quarterbacks in rushing, which is just crazy.
Leading his team in rushing, yeah, it's pretty absurd.
He's also QB1 on the season, silently QB1.
Yeah, it is very shocking to say the least. I
think
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, he's averaging 24.8 points per game, and the rushing is a big part of that. You wouldn't have necessarily expected him to have 222 yards rushing at this point in the season. If you look at his stats, just from last year alone, he had 307 in the full season. He has 222 so far this year. So he's definitely running the ball a bit more. I think we expected more from Isaiah Pacheco and that backfield. They're getting nothing from it. We'll see how that continues. But yeah, Pat's looking good. Josh Allen right on his tail, 22.9 points. Dak and Baker both at third, 21.1 points per game. You got Hurts, May, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford at 10. Bit of a surprise there too.
Yeah, I do think the rushing is going to come down a little bit with Rashee Rice back because they'll just get the ball out quickly, let him do more with it. But I think that it'll balance out enough that it's not going to impact him too much. I still think Mahomes is a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, and Lamar is second in points per game. So Mahomes is at 24.8, Lamar 23.6. So
where's Dak at?
Dak is at 4. He's tied for 4th with Baker, 21.1.
He's getting there for my bold QB1.
It's looking good. All right, so let's jump into Fantasy Football Tinder. If you have not watched this show before, something that we do every week just to talk a little bit about the trending topics throughout the league. We're going to swipe right, we're going to swipe left, and if you want to know how that works, it goes a little something like this. This is our boy Zach. Zach is really working hard trying to do big things for the Around the 412 network. If you didn't know, tomorrow night, Bengals versus the Steelers in Cincinnati, being referred to as the Icy Hot Bowl because the quarterbacks are so old that they're probably going to have to lather up in Icy Hot every time they come off of the field. So we want to know, can Zach parlay the Icy Hot Bowl into a Around the 412 sponsorship for us here? So the man can do anything. Anybody that knows Zach and what he's capable of, they're going to be swiping right. You'll see that on the screen with the green hearts saying, hey, yes, like that's totally going to happen. Keeks Barbershop, move over. We are an Icy Hot shop now, so we'll see what we can do there. For all the haters or people that are like, y'all don't need that. You're young and handsome and well-healthed people. You're going to swipe left, say no. You'll see that with the red X's. So we're going to start today, Drew. Carolina. Big things happen. My only fantasy from week 5 popped off again. Week 6, over 200 total yards of offense. The people want to know, Drew, Rico de Gallo, is it a permanent menu item in Carolina? And you didn't even laugh at that. You're sick. That was so good. That was so good. I even barely a smirk. Well, I put all this effort in for nothing.
I respect it. I just was looking at my note sheet and I was like, where the hell do I start here? Kind of because I have so much crap here and we know that I ramble. So I'm swiping left. And when you first asked me if you want to do this as a Tinder, do you know what like popped in my head? Like it's really random, but it just popped in my head immediately. It was like, you know that gif of Andre the Giant where he's just like,
yeah.
That's exactly what popped in my head. Because like immediately I was just like, the Rico Dowdle to be like the RB1 of this team just was just like, whoa, like slow down here. It's a swipe left for me. The main thing, you just go right off the bat. Chuba just signed a 4-year, $33 million contract. Like they can get out of it after this year, but like they're not going to just turn it over to Rico Dowdle just because of 2 games they had against like phenomenal matchups. Like he did great, but let's sit back and like actually look at who he was facing, the Dolphins in a revenge game with the Cowboys. He told them to buckle up and he made them buckle up. But it's not just that. Like Chuba's been good, right? Like the first 2 weeks he was RB8 and RB10. Then he got hurt. There was a couple really ugly games where they were also like the game script was just terrible. They beat the piss out of the Falcons, so he didn't really play much. Rico played a bit there. And then the game where he got hurt against the Pats, they were getting the shit kicked out of them. So it was like game script was just brutal. He wasn't on the field. He got hurt. And then that's when Rico took over. I do think that Rico is going to be a guy here, though, that's going to eat into Chuba. They're just going to cannibalize each other. It's essentially – it's funny. It's going to turn into the backfield that we're going to talk about with our second Tinder, in my opinion. I think that this is going to be Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker all over again. They're going to cannibalize each other. You're not going to be able to start either of them, in my opinion, unless one of them gets hurt. Maybe if there's another good matchup where you think maybe both of them can do pretty well as a flex option. But I just don't see you being able to start either of them. There's a stat that you laid on me before the show that is like really telling for this, but I'm not going to steal that thunder from you because it's really good. But I think it's an easy swipe left. They're going to cannibalize each other. It just sucks because of how good, Chuba was as an option, as an RB1 for most teams. And then Rico obviously paying off for those that were able to add him. But it's not going to be sustainable for you to have both guys.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm with you. I'm swiping left. I think people think that Rico is just going to take over that backfield. They're going to let him walk. He signed for 1 year, $3 million, which was basically like the Najee contract without all the incentives, right? So it's like he doesn't have necessarily a long-term place there. Chuba's a captain of that team. You're right. He does have that deal. The dead money is only like 5 million, so it's not that big of a deal if they were to move on. But I do think that they are a bit partial to him. It's not like Chuba has really struggled. A lot of people are pointing to he hasn't broken any tackles so far this season, and it's like, all right, it's like a subjective stat. Like, who is deciding what is a broken tackle? It's not. He had a 4.09 yards per carry on the season. In week 3, you saw Rico. He kind of got into camp late. They were ramping him up week by week. So the last game that Chuba Hubbard was healthy, it was a 60-40 split. I see that kind of being maintained. I think that's where they
want to. Blowout game. That was a blowout game, though.
Right, yeah. But still, I think that's like where they want to be, where it's like Chuba comes in, he's kind of the lead guy. Rico's a good spell. He can do these things. The one thing, like you point out, that's interesting is that Rico's been primarily all season getting the inside the 5 carries. Which is a bit surprising to me. So that'll be the main thing for me to see moving forward when they're both on the field. But yeah, it's a swipe left for me. I love the Rico Dowdle story. I love revenge games. I think that they're so much fun. But I do think that he comes back down to earth a little bit. But I mean, hey, to be a backup after a guy that had a 1,000-yard season, I mean, it is surprising, and that's kind of just the way it's worked this year in the NFL, especially with how deep that draft class was in 2025 with all these different running backs. It's like, why would I pay Rico Dowdle $3 million when I can go and get a Woody Marks, Cam Scattaboo, all these different guys that have kind of been popping off? But
you know what's funny about Rico, real quick, is like he's like halfway to his incentives already just from 2 games.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Off. Like his first incentive is at 800 yards from scrimmage. He has 576 in 2 games.
Yeah, and I'm sure that he had a little bit of work in those first couple, so he probably will get there, assuming health. But Chad's in the same boat. He said, "Don't fall for the Rico thing." He did this in Dallas for a brief spell. They decided to give him the reins. He's just not that guy. So not much better of a setup. Completely agree with you there, Chad. We got Tyler Hernley in the chat. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. You got Puka and Egbuka both likely out this week. After Rome, I have Addison, Pearsall, QJ, and Coker. Shout out to my Coke heads out there. Other flex options, one available are Kamara and Fannin. Drew, do you have any thoughts on how you construct that lineup this week with these guys in there?
Pearsall, Quentin Johnson, and Coker all might not play either.
Yeah, I do think that do you think that J.J. McCarthy plays this week?
Yes.
Okay. Because I would love to see the Carson Wentz revenge game happen.
Yeah, I think that McCarthy. Yeah, I think McCarthy's going to play. He practiced today.
Okay.
And Wentz is actually more injured than McCarthy at this point. He has a shoulder injury.
And I will say for Kamara, I mean, he does have a good matchup. Chicago, their biggest weak point from a fantasy perspective has been running backs 26.9 points per game in the last 3 weeks. So Kamara's been decent. I don't think he's been like popped off as a running back 1, but he's been a consistent RB15, RB20 every week. So worse things out there. And Fannin, I mean, he's been solid, and especially if Njoku's banged up, then he's going to see even more targets. So.
Yeah, I mean, Kamara's probably the guy. It's tough because I mean he's in the same boat as like I have a team that had 7 wide receivers, a dynasty team. I'm down to 1.
Yeah, it's crazy. He was saying for the league that me and him are both in, he said Puka and Marv out. It's not going great. He was actually our number 2 in the league until things started falling apart a little bit. Same for me. You're preaching to the choir there, but he said he might be playing Tez Johnson because of those injuries, and that's kind of the stuff that people are dealing with. Definitely worse options out there than having to be tied to MVP candidate Baker Mayfield going up against Detroit. 37.1 points per game, 2 wide receivers. Brian Branch, I know that they had the appeal hearing, but I don't know if he's going to keep the suspension or not. But
I don't think there's any way that they lift that, honestly. Yeah. Like, I think that if he was suspended for multiple games, they would have just met at 1. And they was just like, we don't want to waste our time. Let's just do 1. He literally punched Juju in the face.
Well, and I think, too, because it happened at the end of the game, like if you look at the Jordan Davis situation where like he spit on Dak and it was like the first play of the game, and they're like, well, that was basically a suspension. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't, but okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that it gets upheld, too. I haven't seen anything come out news-wise about that. Here's a crazy one, though. So talking about like how people can get emotionally weird, somebody offered James Cook a swap for Rico Dowdle. Like, come on, man.
That's like the ultimate recency bias I've ever seen. Like James Cook had 2 bad games and Dowdle had 2 insane games.
Hey, you got to take advantage of those situations. You got to sell high when you can, and that's a fantastic sell high right there. So, do you see any? So the branch appeal was denied, so it looks like he will get suspended. Thank you, Chad. Breaking first, but what do you think happens for Tonjes? I don't see them having a role for him once Kittle's back at all.
I would just drop him. I wouldn't even consider it.
I don't see it. The only thing is if you have Kittle and you're like, hey, like if he gets hurt again, I'd pick him back up. But realistically, I don't think anybody would. So we should be good. All right, well, let's transition to Tinder number 2. Drew, you hinted at this one a little bit as we were answering this question. But it's getting messy in Seattle. We're not seeing really any production from either running back. My question for you, Drew, is it time to walk away from this backfield altogether? Nothing? Still nothing? Come on, man.
I'm telling you, like I have so many things on my screen here that I'm trying to figure out what to save first. I'm just not even paying attention this far. That's on me. Like
it hurts, man. It hurts.
But the amount of effort that you put into these, I absolutely respect. Because for anyone that wants a sneak peek back behind our curtain, every single time I give one of these, Joe says it's the corniest shit ever, and it never ends up on here.
It's true.
I think in 3 years, there's been maybe 4 of these that were mine. They're all Joe. So
I was built in with dad jokes for a long time.
Anyways, it's another swipe left for me right off the bat. So there's a lot of good things here. Honestly, like they're running the ball 7th most in the NFL. Kenneth Walker does have 2 top 10 finishes, which is nice. But there's a lot of negatives too. Like they both have the same amount of red zone touches. Like you don't know who's going to get the touch when you get in close. You said to your point about Rico Dowdle, at least we can kind of identify that he might be able to get into the end zone week over week as someone that you can have as a deep league flex. But you don't have that in this backfield. And Zach Charbonnet has been out-snapping him and out-carrying him for most of the season, which is just so annoying. He's averaging
it's crazy because Walker has 4.67 yards per carry to Charbonnet's 2.6. So let me just do this and we can just have this conversation. I'm also swiping left. And then we'll keep going.
Yeah. I got a lot here too.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go.
No. I just wanted to point out that
you just want to get your swipe left. Okay. Yeah, Kenneth Walker's been way more productive too. Like he's averaging 61 yards per game versus Zach Charbonnet's 31. You already said the average yards per carry 4.7 to 2.7. Walker is averaging 5.6 evaded tackles per game, which is 7th. Charbonnet's 2 per game at 42nd. Like you can get a lot out of Kenneth Walker if you just had the volume. Like it's so weird. Like both of these Tinders, like shit just popped into my head when you asked me about him. Like Kenneth Walker, like how good he's been and how little volume. It's like watching someone eat a wing, like chicken wings, and then leaving half the meat on the bone and just throwing it on their plate and saying they're done with it. Like there's
That's
just so
like a really big pet peeve of mine. And I hate that you just said it out loud.
But is that not what Kenneth Walker is right now? Honestly,
well, I mean, we've talked about it before, where it's like Ken Walker is an explosive play kind of guy who is willing to take risks and lose yards to make a big play, whereas Charbonnet is the plotter, fall forward, always doing enough. The problem is that Charbonnet is getting stuffed at a higher percentage.
I don't think Charbonnet's doing enough.
And Charbonnet's not doing enough. I think the biggest surprise for me this season is that they switched their run scheme to this like outside zone scheme. It was supposed to be a perfect fit for Walker, and everybody in the preseason was salivating over that. There was a lot of talk about, hey, like they're going to have to run the ball because of this offensive line that's been horrendous. Sam Darnold's going to be seeing ghosts, all this different stuff. So according to Fantasy Points data, if you look at the Seattle offensive line, they're 23rd in rush grade, but they're 4th in passing grade, which is like absolutely absurd. Both players are having an expected fantasy points per game of 10.4, which what are you going to do with 10 points out of a starting running back? Not a ton. And then Charbonnet is getting 70% of the inside the 5 attempts. So they let Walker go all the way down the field. And then because neither one of them get a lot of receptions, he's not getting the payoff of the touchdown unless he puts one in from 25 out.
Yeah, and they have a horrible matchup this week. The Texans have given up over 12 fantasy points once this season.
They're not. That defense is nasty. If they could ever figure out the offensive line situation over there, it would be terrifying.
If you have to, though, like Zach Charbonnet in redraft is droppable to me. Like he just offers you nothing. Even if one of them misses a game, like Zach Charbonnet missed week 3, Kenneth Walker was still RB30 that week. Yeah. Like you're just not getting at it anything. Oh wait, no, that was RB10. Reading the wrong thing. Like you can potentially get something if one of them.
You're basically banking on it.
You need the injury
point to make it happen. Which I mean, it's not.
He had 30 snaps that game, which is still very little for a game where Zach Charbonnet didn't play. Like you'd expect.
And there's probably 50, 60 snaps that he would have been on the field for.
So. Yeah, and he probably just hit a big one, to get that. But I mean, if you're in a deep league and you need one of them, Charbonnet's a drop. He shouldn't be rostered. He's not efficient enough. But Kenneth Walker is kind of like a Hail Mary play. You just got to hope that he breaks one. And in deep leagues, he could potentially be a flex. But there's just nothing there with these two guys just eating into each other. And it's just annoying to watch. Like they play Charbonnet a ton. Not much happens. And then you're expecting JSN to bail him out, essentially.
Yeah. We got the John Benton call out from Chad. So the Seattle Seahawks offensive line coach may have earned a crack at a bigger job because of the miracle work he's done with that O-line. Yeah, I completely agree. This was the biggest concern that I had for this offense was going to be, all right, they're throwing at the JSN, but are they going to have enough time to even get him the ball? What's going to happen with these running backs? And yeah, Benton's made it work. So kudos to him for sure.
Keanu Benton better though.
Sometimes. Week 1 and 2, not so much, but he's looked a lot better these last couple of weeks.
I just had to say.
All right, so let's transition into our OnlyFantasy subscriptions for the week. So if you are new to the show, we cannot move forward with our OnlyFantasies for week 7 until we have reviewed our OnlyFantasy subscription and kind of taken a look and inventory, if you will, on how we performed in week 6. So it was a tight end heavy group. I had Jake Tonjes. He was a working man last week. So he had 6 receptions, 58 yards. We didn't get the touchdown that would have put us up for a big week, but tight end 12 for somebody that was pretty much a free stream. I like it. Drew, less than pleased with his Tucker Kraft matchup. Tucker Kraft had the best pretty much fantasy matchup of the week last week. Not only targeted him twice, he caught both of them, 43 yards and the touchdown, put him at tight end 11. So, when you kind of swipe early on OnlyFantasy, kind of get your subscriptions in there, you might be missing out on bigger, badder tight ends. And, you can't just swipe on the first tight end that you see. So that's lesson learned for us, and we'll see what we can do this week. So, Drew, week 7, OnlyFantasy subscription of the week. Who you got?
My main man, guy I've been harping on since rookies drafts, Quinshon Judkins. The only Cleveland Brown that I have a fondness for.
You don't like Harold Fannin?
He's all right. It's all right.
David,
so maybe he'll step up even more, but I don't know if he's going to play or not this week. I don't want to speculate too much, but Quinshon Judkins, this one's super easy, honestly. Like, he had a really rough go of it against the Steelers last week. Which
shout out to Derek Harmon. My guy has been tearing it up since week 3.
I feel like week 2 I talked about how I was afraid of this matchup, but Steelers got healthy and they just look like a completely different defense again. So it went exactly how we would have expected last week. I mean, he was held to like 37 yards rushing. Jerome Ford ate into a lot of his workload last week too because of the negative game script. I don't see that happening again. They got the Dolphins this week. 28.6 fantasy points over the last 3 weeks. Rico Dowdle went off on him. Became a Tinder this week because of it. Kamani Vidal had a good game last week against them.
Everybody's having a good game against them. It's crazy. I feel like I could rush for at least 70 yards against them.
I was about to say, you pay me $1 million, I got to get 10 yards in the NFL. As long as the Dolphins are playing defense, I'm taking it. Let's do it.
That's funny.
You can give me the worst offensive line too. I'm not even worried. Let's do it.
Why not?
But yeah, Quinton Duncan's smash play. He might go for 200 yards this week. Like, it's honestly that realistic. And I think that the Browns are going to win outright. I think that the Dolphins are an absolute mess. Mike McDaniel is standing up there.
If they lose to the Browns, he's gone.
Huh?
If they lose to the Browns, there's no way he has a job.
I mean, he shouldn't have a job, and I don't think Tua should have a job either. The dude's just like completely lost up there.
I honestly don't think it's a McDaniel problem. The culture is kind of iffy, but it's the GM has given them no talent on that team. They have a bottom 5 roster, and like he actually makes that offense pretty solid. Tua has been really weird lately too, like you were saying. Like the stuff that people were coming late to meetings and all
He's
this.
He's like airing out dirty laundry to the press. Like, what are you doing?
Like, you are the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's your team, bro.
Yeah.
Maybe and like forgot because of the CTE, but I mean, come on.
He's also been saying they've been having like players only meetings like weekly. Like, if I had a players only meeting every single week, I'd stop showing up too. Like, they're pointless meetings after that many times. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. The Dolphins are they're the worst vibes team in the NFL. It was always that way. Tyreek Hill wanted out. The dude literally was celebrating after he got hurt. That's what it looked like. Like, he was just like so happy to be done with this whole thing. This is going to be a big Judkins week. I think the Browns are going to win. And yeah, I think that he should be a top 10 running back this year.
I should go to that game. Could be fun. Just to watch it happen. Chad is saying that Quinn Ewers season incoming. Don't know if I agree with that, but we have a celeb shot for our OnlyFantasy content here. So got an Around the 412 flavored OnlyFantasy this week. Don't like that phrasing. Give me Kenneth Gainwell 2 TDs versus the Bengals on Thursday night. Kenny G, I mean, he has been a pleasant surprise. I liked Kenny G just what he did for the Eagles. I thought he was going to be more of a special teams player week in and week out for us, but I mean, he's really been holding it down. Last week, if you look at what he did in a full PPR, I believe he was still a top 20 guy. Yeah, he was running back 18. Only carried the ball 6 times for 22 yards, but he had 6 catches for 14. So that PPR bump that you got there, maybe he gets it done. We'll see. I think it's going to be a big week for Jaylen Warren, though, but we'll see how it shakes.
Agreed. That's what I was thinking, too.
Yeah. All right, so before I jump into my OnlyFantasy, we do have a question in the chat. Yo, Ulysses, what's good, my boy? Would you trade Herbert, Vidal, Evans for James Cook, Dart? My backup in the room is stacked. No.
I think it's just those 3 for James Cook. Dart's just going to be.
If I'm getting James Cook, hell yeah. Which I'm assuming that he is. Kamani Vidal, don't care about. Herbert, we talked about him at the beginning of the year, how he was running the ball a lot. He had the 7 carries week 1 against the Chiefs. He is not running anymore. And that has been a problem. That offensive line, now that they're without both outside, like their tackles are gone, it's been a bit of a mess for him. So on the season, his numbers look a bit more inflated. But Justin Herbert, you look at the game logs as of late. Last 3 weeks, Miami plus matchup, quarterback 14, plus matchup against Washington, quarterback 21. The Giants are a tougher matchup, quarterback 20. But in the last 5 weeks, 1 rushing attempt, 4 rushing attempts, 1 rushing attempt, 2 rushing attempts. So, I mean, for me, there's nobody that I'm going to miss out of those 3 there. Evans is going to have those big games. I say full send. James Cook, best player there all day. Dart, he's been running a lot. You just have to survive these next couple weeks because Denver doesn't really give up a lot of rushing to quarterbacks, so that's going to be a tough matchup. We saw Justin Fields not able to run at all against them, and I believe he still has 1 more game versus the Eagles, which he played well in. So it's really just this Denver game this week. But if you want to get nasty and you want to do unethical things, complete the trade on Saturday, and then it takes 2 days to process, and then you'll get the players for the fall.
Wait till even Sunday because James Cook's on a bye.
Yeah.
So like you're not even going to have.
That's probably why this person is doing it, because they need it for the bye. But
I don't know. I mean,
I like the trade. I would do it for sure.
Yeah. I also want to bring this up and get your opinion. We have 9 minutes before we really start to push time. So We've been burned. Like this could be the third time this year, like where we thought Woody Marks was finally going to be a thing, then he fell off the map again, and then the Cardinals played like we thought it was going to be Amari DiMarcado. It turns out to be Michael Carter, and then 2 weeks later we think it's Michael Carter, and then it turns out to be Bam Knight. Like it was Vidal last week. It could be Haskins this week for all we know. I don't think that it's clear who's going to run these backfields anymore. I think that you're selling high on Vidal potentially, especially if you had a good matchup.
You have to. He was somebody that you picked off the street last week.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you could be trading a dude that literally just had one good game because he played the Dolphins, and then he's going to be scrap piece, like droppable for all we know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that this is definitely a trade you make because James Cook's a top 10 running back when he's getting the volume. Yeah. He just didn't get the volume the last 2 weeks, really. I think it's because they were playing from behind.
Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, Buffalo is allergic to having their best offensive weapon on the field when they're losing.
They're not throwing it to him either when he's out there, which is weird. Like that was what he was known for when he came out of Georgia. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. But I would smash that trade, and hopefully you can even find another quarterback option off of waivers. Honestly,
it's really just for this week because Denver, I think they haven't allowed more than 15 yards rushing to a quarterback this year.
Yeah, like it's really tough this week for Dart. But.
All right, so I'm gonna slide into my only fantasy prediction for this week. Drew, would you believe it if I told you that Nico Collins is wide receiver 18 on the season in fantasy points per game?
Would you also believe that he has the highest roster percentage of 0-6 teams?
Does he really?
Yeah, I just saw it right before we started the show.
That's hilarious. I would believe it because he's only averaging 7.2 targets per game before their bye. They've got Seattle this week. Seattle has a banged-up secondary with Reek Woolen and Devon Witherspoon. They both missed week 6. We saw Brian Thomas Jr. have himself a big game. If you look at the season stats, Seattle's allowing the 13 most points per game to opposing wide receivers. In the last 3 weeks, they are number 1, allowing 45 points per game. They're the best matchup for opposing wide receivers. I don't think that Woolen and Witherspoon play. I'm going to fire up Nico. Seattle's most common defensive shell is the cover 3. They played at a 32.4% clip. That is Nico's best defense to line up against. He averages 0.6 points per route run. Expecting a big game for Nico. He's going to come out hot out of the bye week.
I like it. So he definitely had a good game right before his bye week too.
Yeah, so I think they're going to keep it going. And yeah, it's interesting to see what happened with Woody Marks. It happened with somebody last week as well. It was another one of the rookies that was like, oh, it was Bill. Is Bill going to overtake the backfield?
Yeah.
6-7 points, like nothing.
That's what I mean. Like it's like fourth. This could be the 4th time we fight out. Like we're just getting like these. They're playing hot hand approach. We're not gonna be able to figure out which one is the guy each week. This is gonna be annoying.
For sure. All right, Drew. Well, that kind of wraps things up for us. So for the people wanting to ask more questions, do all that. Last chance, last call in the chat. Fill in those questions. We'll get them answered for you. But if you're looking for us outside of the confines of this YouTube show or Twitch or wherever you're finding us, you can find us at a lot of different places. So you can find us at JOEFRK, at Drew Hannis. Those are our personal handles. If you want to get in touch with us via the show X or Twitter handle, if you will, at AT412FF show. And then you've got YouTube and Twitch at Around the 412. Drew, any closing thoughts as we lead into week 7?
Apologizing for yawning. I have a 2-year-old now that just doesn't like to sleep as much as he used to, so it's been tough. Fantasy-wise, I'm excited to get back after it after going 0-7 last week on my bye week. I'm going to come out smoking after the bye week, except I don't have enough quarterbacks to play in 2 leagues, so I'm going to be starting 1 and 2 QBs.
Hey, man, talk to me. I got some QBs in that league.
But, like, it's just a 1 week thing. Like, I'm not trying to, make a big deal for a guy that I'm going to play 1 week, because then I'll have Josh Allen back and Lamar after the bye.
What? I mean, Danny Dimes could be yours. Nice little.
We'll talk after the show. We'll see what the price is. Zach,
it's gonna be.
I'm playing Zach, and he actually said that he thinks that he would rather beat me with 1 quarterback, so he wants to sit 1. So he's just gonna sit Trevor Lawrence and then play Jane Daniels against me like it matters. So
yeah, it's good stuff. All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for us this week on the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Show. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we hope that y'all have a fantastic week 8. So best of luck. We'll see you here next Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central.